I had a good time driving the 240 around like this, like a crazy psychobilly weirdo, but now it's time to actually try and finish the body here. First thing I'm doing is, because my old over fenders and my new over fenders are slightly different shapes, I'm going through and filling in the old rivet holes. I started doing one there and then I realized I should probably film it, so that's why that one's half done. So I went ahead and filled those holes. One of them used to be right there. And then I went and prepped the entire rear quarter panel for paint. So that's the passenger side rear fender done. I think it turned out really well. I finished a couple days ago, so naturally it's already completely covered in dust. But I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Got the over fender all mounted up, and she's good to go. Next, what I started doing was the driver's side rear fender. I forgot to film some stuff. Effectively what happened was I painted this, and then I mounted the over fender to it, and then I realized that I mounted the over fender too far back, so I had to pull it off and then patch the holes and then re-drill the holes and then do some bit of Bondo work and then blah blah blah. The point is, this is the condition it's in, and it's just about ready to be painted and clear coated again. Alright, so that's the second try of my rear fender done, and this time I actually did it properly. I'm not thrilled with how it came out. There's like a bit of unevenness here. That's after wet sanding, that's why it looks very dull. It still needs to be polished. Overall, I would say it's about a B+B job, but I'm kind of in a situation right now where I need to keep pushing forward with the paint. I don't really have much time to linger on that panel. So what I'm doing now is I'm painting the trunk lid and also this finish panel here that goes below the tail lights. Oops, I dropped a toolbox. So yeah, these two shouldn't be as complicated as the rear fenders on account of they're very small, and hopefully I can get them done pretty quick here. These sawhorses are usually $65 each, and I got them both for $30 total, so I'm pretty much killing the game right now. So I said earlier that I hope this panel would be nice and easy, but realistically it is completely covered in the complete black paint that's really hard to remove. So it's probably going to be actually a huge pain in the ass. This is what every interior clip on a car should be. You push in the middle and it comes out. It's that easy. Finally.
I know, the light's dead.
I have a charger of that.
No, it's Brandon's light.
What?
I'm not charging it.
Oh, haha! So while this dries, I am working on doing... What are you doing?
It's magnetic.
Okay. Now I gotta start that all over again.
You have to clean that in.
I have a hard time believing you didn't do that on purpose.
We did it.
So while that paint dries, I am working on some of the small pieces. Over here I got door handles, the pop-up headlight covers, and the gas filler cap pieces. And this one looks like it's done, but it's not. That was the test panel from like months and months ago, so it's not done very well. I'm gonna redo it. So yeah, all this stuff will get done, and that will finally be the end of this gunky black paint. That's the last stuff that I have left to sand. So I got the trunk lid and the finish panel. Clear coat's nice and dry. They do... Are you fucking kidding me, Brett? So I got the trunk lid and the finish panel all clear coated. It's nice and dry. It still needs to be wet sanded and polished, same as usual. And I got the taillights put back in. And now I'm just waiting for the paint to dry on the wiper arm and the bezel that goes around the... And now I'm just waiting for the wiper arm and the bezel that goes around the third brake light to dry, because I just gave those a fresh coat of black, so they look good. And yeah, things are coming together. All right, the base car is so close to being done right now. I got the trunk and the finish panel done, roof, doors, hood, rear fenders. So now the last thing I really got to do that you could consider core car, which is everything but the body kit pretty much, is these front fenders here. They shouldn't be too much of a pain in the ass. They're both going to need a little bit of love. There's a dent there. Another dent there. But they shouldn't be a huge pain in the ass. Like, compared to all the panels that had like 50 billion different layers of paint on them, anything that is just one coat to start with is so much easier, because then I don't have to worry about leveling out all those different layers. So hopefully these won't be too much of a pain in the ass. On a side note, I just took this thing for a nice long drive. It's been a while since I've had the chance, because I've always had wet paint on it and I didn't have taillights for a while, so I wasn't really able to go for a cruise. But I just came back from one, and it's running and driving really, really fantastic right now. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. And then I just went and test fit a side skirt there, and I really think it's starting to come together. You can kind of, if you squint and use a lot of imagination, you can kind of figure out what the car is going to look like when it's quote unquote done. So I got the front fenders pulled off, and now I'm prepping them for paint. I sanded this one down a bit, and with it sanded down, you can see this dent right here. I think it's a door ding, but it's not too deep. I'm gonna see if I can flip it over and give it a bit of a tap with a hammer from the back to kind of push it out a bit, just to minimize the amount of Bondo that needs to go in there. I'm not a skilled enough metal worker that I can get it back to normal with no Bondo, I think, but I should be able to get it pretty flat just by gently pushing that out. Alright, so that was actually very easy. It almost felt like it kind of popped back into place. Yeah, that should require very, very little Bondo, which is the best kind of Bondo, aside from no Bondo. So the white panel is kind of the same as the silver panel. It's got this big dent, obviously in a different location, but hopefully I can do the same thing and just flip it over and pop it out. But that one's a bit bigger, so we'll see. So I was able to flatten that one out quite a bit, but it's definitely still going to need some Bondo. It did not pop like the other one did. So now it's very irregular from the hammer marks. So a bit of Bondo will take care of that. It's not the end of the world. I actually really dig these pinstripes. I think it would be cool to have a car that had them from the factory, but unfortunately the rest of this car does not have pinstripes, so I got to get rid of them. Man, that was incredibly satisfying. So while the Bondo on those fenders dries, I've got all the small pieces here prepped and ready for primer. Okay, so now the small stuff's getting painted, and while that happens, the big stuff is getting primered. So the car itself is completely painted now. The only thing that still has to be painted is the body kit. I'm pretty happy with how the paint job's going right now. When you get up close, you can kind of tell it's not a super professional quality paint job, but it's turning out better than I expected it to, honestly. Now what I'm doing is I'm going through the body kit and I'm drilling any holes that have to be drilled into it for mounting, just so that I don't have to drill those holes after I paint and risk ruining the paint job. Time is kind of the essence right now. I only have about 3 more weeks before we have to move out of this shop. And once we move out of this shop, I'm not gonna have a good space to paint this stuff. So that's my top priority right now. But if I get my ass in gear, it should only take me about 1 week to paint this stuff. All right, so I got all the mounting for the body kit taken care of, and I gave it a test fit up with just zip ties instead of rivets. And I'm decently happy with how it's turned out. I do like the style of the body kit. I am really happy with that, but I'm really not impressed with the quality of this kit like I kind of predicted a while ago. For starters, there's gigantic gaps here on the bumper. Those are huge. Those are like 1 inch wide. There's one on that side and one on the other side. And that's not just like a fitment or an alignment issue. That is just, the bumper is supposed to go to there and it only goes to there. And that's a bit of a bummer, but I'll figure out some stupid way to cover that up. I'll put a fun sticker over it. I don't know. And the other part is right here on the back bumper. There's kind of a big gap there, which I'm not a fan of. Again, just they made the bumper the wrong shape. They really didn't give a fuck about attention to detail. And the side skirts I've been fighting with the entire time. I really don't like the side skirts. Just the way they fit. They look all right, but like they're too short for the body, so I had to massage the over fenders to get them to fit, and they're just a giant pain in the ass. But as of right now, everything has been modified in a way that it will fit. So now I'm gonna start prepping these for paint, and hopefully I can get it prepped and painted pretty quick here. And then that's going to be pretty much the exterior of the car finished for a while, which is going to be a huge weight off my shoulders because I've been slaving away on paint, Bondo, welding, all this shit for like half a year now. So it'll be nice to be able to kind of take a break from all this exterior stuff and just focus on other minor things that I've been meaning to get done as well. Okay, that's the whole kit prepped. I didn't really film any of it because it's not very interesting, but it was just a bunch of sanding, a little bit of Bondo, and then a bunch of dust removal. And now it's time for paint. My paint job is finally done and the body kit is finally mounted. It's not 100% mounted. I just need to buy some longer rivets for the rear bumper. Right now that's zip tied on, but everything else is completely riveted on. It's installed. And I'm honestly pretty happy with how it turned out. I mean, yeah, there's still giant fitment issues and there's a couple little, you know, imperfections in my paint job, but honestly, as a whole, just looking at this car in one color, I'm so happy with it. It's just, I don't know. From 10 feet away, you can't even see any of the imperfections, so I'm super happy with how this has turned out. And now that it's all painted, I've been dailying it for a few days, and it's actually been going really well. Everything runs strong, nothing's breaking on me. It's not overheating in traffic or anything. So yeah, like this is a stage of completeness here. There's a couple more things that need to get done. Like I need to put that door panel back in and, you know, minor things, but this is pretty much like the end of phase 2 here, because we're getting kicked out of this shop in like 5 days here. And I'm not gonna have too much space to work on this car for a while, so this is how it's gonna sit for the foreseeable future, and I'm super happy with that. So that's pretty much gonna do it for this video. The last thing I wanna do is figure out how much this paint job actually cost me. I kept every single spray can I used over the process of this, so all of my primer, all my paint, all of my clear coat. And now I'm gonna add it up and see what I actually spent, because the whole objective here was to do a cheap paint job. So, was it actually cheap? I don't even know, let's find out. In the end, we ended up with 14 cans of this Rust-Oleum Satin Lagoon, 14 cans of primer, and 13 cans of clear coat. At $9 for the paint, $9 for the primer, $8 for the clear coat per can. We end up with about 350 bucks, which is honestly pretty solid. Then you throw in all the money I spent on sandpaper, Bondo, various other supplies. I definitely kept this paint job under 400 bucks, which is pretty solid for a cheap paint job. I don't know any shop that would paint a car for that cheap. If I had to go back and change what I did, I would probably not have bothered with spray cans at all. I probably would have bought a paint gun and actually did it the right way. I would also use a harder clear coat, like a 2K clear. This stuff's all right, but I'm worried it's a little bit soft for automotive applications, but I guess time will tell. So anyways, I have no idea what's going to be next with this car, or if the next thing is going to be with this car. Maybe I'll get something new. But stay tuned.